Good morning. Welcome to today's Talking Cafe Live. My name's Wendy Rudd, and today we're doing Foodie Friday again, as usual. I'm very fortunate today. I have a friend and neighbour who's going to be doing some cooking. And to that avail, we'll do the poem, which is Christmas food. Food, glorious Christmas food, puts us all in a happy mood. At this festive time of year, how we all love Christmas cheer. Christmas food is such a treat, all of those delicious things to eat, lots of special things to buy or bake your own. Give it a try. For family and friends, cook and bake, everyone loves a slice of cake. Gingerbread house and fresh mince pies. There is no limit, reach for the skies. Chocolate pastries and Christmas pud. Should I eat them? Yes, you should. And at this special time, Christmas time, watch people smile with eyes that shine. And on that note, I'm going to introduce Helen, who is, hello, Helen.
Good morning.
You have very kindly agreed at the 12th hour to come in and bake some wonderful little Christmas twists. Very easy, very simple and quick to do. And I just want to say thank you very, very much for doing this for us.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Over to you. Let's...
Right. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Yes, very easy, quick recipes, not a great deal of ingredients, so hopefully something you should have in your kitchen cupboards and fridge. I've usually got pastry in my fridge. Luckily, when Wendy called on me, I did have 2 lots of pastry in my fridge. But today we're going to use short crisp pastry and puff pastry. You can make your own, which is great. But as Nigella says, if you can buy it and it's just as good, then why not? So I've usually got this is Tesco's, but obviously you can buy this in any supermarket. This is the rolled pastry. I quite often use the block pastry, which is the Just Roll or any of the supermarket's own block pastries, because I find that you can then cut those to size, shape them however you like. But if you're going to do a pizza or something like we're going to do today, which is you just need a rectangle and we're going to just cut it into strips, then the rolled flat sheets are just as easy. Now, the only other ingredients we've got today that we're going to use is some hazelnut chocolate spread. And again, I tend to just use supermarket's own. You can use the Nutella brand, but any chocolate spread really is good enough when you're cooking, when you're putting it in something to cook. And the other one I'm going to do is a mincemeat, a traditional twist on the mince pie. So I'm going to just use some mincemeat. This is one of my Waitrose Christmas mincemeats, which I think has a little bit extra of a kick in it. Again, I suppose you could add a little drop of rum or brandy to your mincemeat mixture if you wanted to give it a little bit more of a flavour. And the only other thing perhaps to go with the chocolate hazelnut is just some chopped nuts. But again, you can add almost anything to these sorts of recipes to suit your own taste. And then just some icing sugar to dust at the end. And a little beaten egg just to brush at the end. But that's really the whole of the ingredients. So there's not a lot there. I'll just move those out of the way. And again, not many utensils that you need to use. I quite often, when I'm baking, will use these, which are great for baking, to put on your worktop. The only one problem with this today is I'm going to use a nice sharp knife, so that wouldn't suit this because I'll end up with nice slits in my nice mat. So I'll put that one out the way for today, and we'll just be using the worktop. Now the oven is already on. I've got that ready. With these, because it's not following a set recipe, it's just something that I've sort of picked up from lots of different little clips on Facebook or from recipe books. The oven temperature that I've set at the moment is between 180 and 200 degrees C, which equivalent I think is gas mark between 4 and 6. and between 350 and 400 Fahrenheit. Various recipes that follow these types of ingredients are around about the 180 to 200 centigrade mark. So I've set my oven sort of somewhere between those two because we don't want to burn anything. But to start with, I'm going to use the rolled pastry pack. That one out of the way, which I did actually slightly pre-prepare earlier, because the only issue that you can sometimes get with the rolled packs is that right at the very end of the roll, they can sometimes split or crack, which is very helpful. So yes, this morning I just pre-rolled it. And the only other thing with the rolled pastries, it can be slightly thicker. So if you don't, you sometimes need to roll it just slightly thinner, which is what I did with this. It was just a nice rectangular piece. Cut it in half, and then I just re-rolled the two pieces just to make them slightly longer and slightly bigger. So I'm going to just dust a little bit of flour here on my board so we don't stick. And then we'll just ease off this first piece of pastry. And move that one out of the way. So this was, as I said originally, a piece most probably around about that size, but just much thicker. So I've cut that piece in half, and as you can see, I've now got my two pieces roughly equivalent size, but we can trim the edges so it doesn't matter too much. So as I said, I had pre-rolled this, but you can just roll it a little bit further if we wish. And then I'm going to do the nutty chocolate hazelnut one first, which is quite nice. So as I said, just an ordinary jar of supermarket's own chocolate on there. The only other thing with the pastry I meant to say was it might be a good idea if you have got it in the fridge to just take it out of the fridge a little bit earlier, just so that it comes up slightly more to room temperature, because otherwise if it's too cold it can be a little bit more brittle. And that's
the question with the chocolate spread. You don't need to warm it or anything first. It's soft enough spread.
Yeah, it's quite soft. It's quite pliable. So and again, you can use as much or as little as you like, but it literally just needs to go on the pastry as best you can without causing too many problems, hopefully. But no, it's fairly tacky and sticky, but soft enough to maneuver around your pastry. There is a version of this that you may well find online, which is lovely to do at Christmas, which is actually in the shape of a Christmas tree. I have done it once, but you just literally do exactly the same as I'm doing now. And then when you put your final piece of pastry on the top, you then cut the whole shape of your pastry into a Christmas tree.
All right. So really, you can do any shape then, can't you?
Yeah, you can do anything with this, really. But yes, it does look lovely in the shape of a Christmas tree. You just cut the branches, and then just form the shape of the tree.
You could even, if you're very dexterous and very good, cut out numbers for children's birthdays, couldn't you? And have them at their age. Yeah.
Yeah, or even cut shapes with cutters. Almost anything, really.
Will it alter the baking time if it's a larger piece?
It may possibly. Yes, you'd have to judge, and I tend to judge just by having a look, taking a glimpse. It's more to not burn the chocolate. That was why we don't want the oven temperature too high, so we don't want to burn the chocolate. But it is covered. But it's just so that, just to check really when the pastry is cooked, as much as anything. But Right, so I think there's enough chocolate on there, but as I said, you can use as much or as little as you like. And now I'm just slip into my bag of chopped nuts. Again, these are just chopped mixed nuts, so if you want to just have a selection of Christmas nuts and just chop up whatever you've got. I mean, these are easy because they're pre-chopped. I'm just going to sprinkle some of these on. Again, as many or as few as you require. I think that might be enough. And then all we need to do then is take our other piece of pastry, which should be roughly the same size. I might actually just move that one. I'm going to reuse that in a moment. I might just give that another little roll because it looks slightly smaller. It's most probably shrunk a little bit while it's been repacked up. If we want to cover that one that we've just done there. So just carefully place that one on the top so it's completely covered. That's fairly square. I mean, you could, if you needed to, you could have just trimmed the edges with a sharp knife, but we don't prefer not to waste anything really. So we can always just gently push the edges down just to seal.
So would you ever egg brush this or not, or would it make it too tacky to handle?
Yeah, no, I will do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut the strips first. You'll see how I'll here, and then I'll put the tray just there. Again, that was just the baking parchment that I just had it wrapped up in. So just to reuse that, I can just put that on the tray. Again, you can make the strips whatever shape and size you like. So I'm just going to cut across the middle and then cut down. I'm going to make my strips about that length. The outside one may be slightly different size because it's just the outside edge, but otherwise they're most probably just a couple of centimeters. But as I said, you can make them as short, as long, as wide as you like, really. So this is where it can be a bit mucky with the chocolate. Maybe I'll stick to the knife. But
and looking at what you're doing and how it's been done now, I'm thinking, oh, for those that don't do nuts or chocolate, we could vary all the fillings, couldn't we? It would be quite nice if you had apples and raisins, or
yes.
you know, like an apple puree. That would work quite well, wouldn't it?
Yes, I mean, with the pastry, I mean, you can do so many different things. So yes, you could do more of more of a strudel type filling, apples, pears, chutney type filling, like you would in a chutney, but just your fruits, sweet fruits, yes, and some sugar and that, almonds. So yes, if obviously with this one, you'd have to be careful who you gave it to regarding nut allergies. But yes, any type of filling really would suit. Pastry is very adaptable. So anyway, when we've got our strips, all we do then is, if I move that over, I hope you can see.
Yes, yes, it's very good view.
Lovely. We just place them on a baking tray, on a sheet, and just hold the edge down at one end, pinch the edge, and then all we're going to do is just twist the pastry. Not too many times, but just a few times. It is a bit messy with the chocolate, and then just pinch the ends down. Now,
so rather than say twist it 3 times, it depends on how long you've done it as to how many twists you're going to be putting in it.
That's right. How long your actual strips are. But yes, I usually just turn it about 2 or 3 times. So again, just pinch the end down, just a gentle twist and push the edge down. Now, you do need a few twists, otherwise you won't get the effect, and they may well just collapse if they don't have a good twist. So another few, can be a bit mucky, chocolatey, and just push the ends as you do that. Just squeeze the ends down just to make sure they're sealed.
And look, having watched you so far, this is going to be actually an ideal one to do with the children, isn't it? Because it is nice and simple and.
Yes, it's great. And if I was thinking, we said that they would be great to give to your neighbours, friends, or neighbours as a little thing, a nice little handmade thing for Christmas, rather than just something perhaps bought. And again, I thought, well, if you can do it with children, it would be lovely. Having worked in a school, it would be great to give to the teachers. So if they've got a teacher, they can always parcel a few of these up and give to the teacher for Christmas, instead of having to worry about going out and buying any expensive gifts.
And the children are so much more excited when they know they've made it and they're giving it, aren't they? They're bouncing, saying, "I made this, I made this."
Yeah. Yes, they'll enjoy it all the more if they've made it themselves. But anyway, that's the chocolate ones. I'm going to leave this to do, because if I'm going to do some mincemeat ones now, so I may well not have the room in the oven to do all of them on lots of different trays. So I'm going to move that one, and I can do those a little bit later. Just cover the pastry up so it doesn't dry out, and I'll move that out of the way. Now, as you said, Wendy, you do need to just brush these with just a little bit of beaten egg, but not too much. Just so they brown nicely and don't burn or dry out. So hopefully, you sometimes will get, perhaps with the mincemeat more than the chocolate, you will sometimes get a little bit of oozing from the cut in the pastry, but hopefully it won't be too much of a problem. And I've quite often done them for work at Christmas, taken them in for our little Christmas cup of tea at the end of our term at school, and they did go.
I was going to say, what's so nice about this is I'm actually not a mince pie person, but as you rightly say, if you take some and some, and it's nice to have a change from the traditional mince pies, isn't it?
Yes, and I always find when I've made mince pies that it's very difficult to avoid the oozing that you get from the mincemeat from the tarts, and they can be a bit of a mess and look a little bit of a mess. Whereas with the twists, somehow once they're dusted with ice and sugar and that, they're just a little bit different, and I think they're easier to make. And they usually look very good, but so right, that's those done. As I said, do as many as or as two as you like. I can only fit. I wouldn't pack any more on, because obviously with slight expansion, especially with the puff pastry, you need a little bit more room for the puff pastry to expand. So I'm going to go on and put those in the oven now.
Okay.
And I'm just very quickly going to swirl my hands to get the chocolate off before we start the next.
So how long roughly do we think they're going to be in the oven for, the cooking time?
I would put them in most probably. The puff pastry. I think. I mean, you just need to keep an eye on it. But I would say around about 15 minutes because they are only little thin strips, so it shouldn't take too long. But I must admit, I do tend to judge things more on how they look when they're cooking and when I feel that they're actually done. So I haven't done these for a while, so it'll be good when I feel that those are done and completed. I can always say we will then be able to have a bit more of an idea how long they would take. But I would say around about 15 minutes.
Yeah, because as you say, no two ovens cook the same, and it's knowing your own oven too, isn't it? Because I know
That's right.
yes, when I changed to the fan oven, even though I reduced the temperatures as stated, I found that this oven actually does cook faster than most of any recipes or or instructions I'm given. So I've now taken to the same ilk of always having a check 5 minutes before and then watching it.
Yes. Yeah. No. I found that in different homes that we've lived, that ovens, some ovens can be far more fierce than others. So yes, you do have to know your own oven, and temperatures and times. So, but yes, around about 15 minutes, I would say. As you said, it's just checking on when you feel that the pastry is actually cooked, and you don't want any soggy bottoms, as Mary would say. But, anyway, that's the hazelnut chocolate one out the way. Now, with that recipe, you can use puff pastry or short crust pastry. It wouldn't make a difference. I just opted for the puff pastry with that one. The other pack I've got here is short crust pastry. So this is the short crust pastry pre-rolled pack. Which again, I just had a little look at beforehand, just in case the ends were damaged slightly. If they are, you just need to mold the pastry back into the end of the roll, and just roll it. I mean, just any pastry like this, I just had it in the fridge, just roll back up in some grease or baking paper. So I'll have a little bit more flour again on the board. And again, this was exactly the same, a small rectangular piece, but quite thick. So again, I just cut it in half and then re-rolled both halves so that they are slightly larger. A little bit on that one. It doesn't stick. There we go. Now that should be fine as it is. A little less square, that one. Might have to tidy that one up a bit afterwards. Just make sure it doesn't stick on the board. Right, now, this one, I'm just using some just traditional mincemeat, or even nice luxury mincemeat, or as I said, you can always have just a simple mincemeat, and spoon it into a bowl first, maybe, and add a little drop of brandy or rum, if you like it a little bit more flavoured.
Right, it looks like Joy is having problems trying to actually log in. So I'm just highlighting it to our wingman Dave, who no one sees behind the scenes, who's very good at sorting things out for us. So hopefully Joy will be able to view us sooner rather than later.
Good. Right, so that was a whole jar. That's most probably, once it's spread out, I would say a whole, that would be enough, because it's a little bit more rich, the mincemeat. Might not quite do a whole sheet, but we'll see. Just happened to have that jar handy, so I was lucky.
Right. I am going to put out there, I can see that we've got a few viewers, and if people have managed to log in, could they let me know and just put a little hello in the comments or something, so that we do know that we are getting out there live, as Helen's busy doing her wonderful Christmas twists for you. It would be nice if some people get to see it live and not on the reruns, as it were, on the YouTube replays. And also to let people know that whilst the twists finish off baking, I am actually going to then talk to you about it being the first Advent this weekend, and a hamper launch that Reach or Alternative Education are launching, and other little things just to keep people informed in Somerset and to allow the twists to bake.
Yeah. Good. Right, now I will use that little bit of pastry for something else. That's just one standard size jar, so it would only cover that amount. So if you wanted to do more, obviously, I quite often will have a chunkier, a bigger jar available to do that, but that's okay. We can cut that little bit off the end. We don't need to waste that. I can use that for something else. So I will just put the next piece of pastry on top. The only thing I had thought that we could have added into that as well would be some nice grated orange zest, which is lovely with me. So, but I won't pinch one of my husband's oranges, although we can still eat the orange. But no, just grate some nice orange zest would have been lovely on top of there. So anyway, that's exactly the same again. Just that extra piece of pastry on top. Just make sure the sides are sealed. Now I can tell where the end of that pastry is, so I can cut that piece off, and I can always use that again. I can put that out the way and use it again. So my next tin to do with some bigger, flatter tins. I'll put those on my Christmas list. That's that one there. Now, again, exactly the same. We can, in fact, I'll take another knife because that one's got the chocolate spread on it, so I'll have a nicer, clean knife. We can do it again exactly the same. So I'm going to just cut this down through the middle. Might have to cut a little bit more carefully with the mincemeat, because obviously you're instead of just cutting through simple chocolate, you've got the currants, raisins and that in there, so it may not just slice through quite so easily as the chocolate. Anyway, exactly the same method. Just cut the strips, again, whatever sort of size you like.
Right. What I'm going to do, Helen, while you're continuing with that, because we're almost up to time for your first lot coming out, we're already sort of 29 minutes in. I'm going to talk about Reach and things like Share a Chair.
Yeah.
And we will come back to you once you've got them all beautifully done and cooked and presenting them. Okay? So
That's
thank you.
Okay.
And we'll be back to Helen in a moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. As I said, it's first Advent this Sunday. We're on the countdown to Christmas already. And I ummed and ahed if I thought it was a little bit too early, but I thought, no. There's so much happening, beginning to happen around. and about in the villages and everything. South Petherton have their light switch on tonight that's going to be recorded, as are most villages in the area now. So we don't have to break the rules, as it were. We can all see it virtually while socially distancing. And there's something special I'd like to talk to you about, and it's a company called Reach. I got to meet Dan, and I saw his poster going out for Christmas hampers, which is on Facebook, etc. I'm sure Dave will put a copy up for you there. So this is the Reach Christmas hamper. Now, I've done a little poem to encapsulate what it is they are aiming for. Reach. As a special Christmas treat, we have a goal we'd like to meet. Reach Youth needs your food donation. We know you'll exceed our expectation. To fill up hampers with a Christmas dinner and include a few treats, go on, be a winner. We need quite a lot of goods and bounty to cover across the Somerset County. To give a Christmas hamper to families in need so that the Christmas for them can be happy indeed. So what they're doing is, as you can see, they are, I'm just trying to bring things up a little bit larger for myself so that I can read the print as well, because I would like to get it right for you. And I have encapsulated it here somewhere, but she's not seeing it. So it's not that one. No, it's not coming up. So what Reach are doing, I'll do it from memory, is they are an alternative education, and they cover the whole of Somerset. Initially, when the concept was first born, they were only looking to raise 4, but it's taken off so well. They have 108 baskets, Christmas hampers they're trying to make up, and they're looking for donations. We do have, they're on Facebook, they have a website, which I'm sure Dave will give you all the info to. So the person that I was dealing with is Dan Wooding, and they have an email of info@reachyouth.co.uk and a contact number of 01935 823 171. They're going to donate to each hamper, and they're looking for, whether it's small businesses, local businesses, to donate and get these wonderful hampers together, ready in time for Christmas, so that somebody can have a special Christmas that wouldn't normally have got them. There's also on Facebook, on my particular local chat, there is an idea called Share a Chair. So it's not managed by anybody in particular. It is just spare a chair for Christmas. And the thought behind this is, whilst we've got COVID on and so many isolated and vulnerable people, why not, a bit like the Kindness Act in my poem last week, what you can do is, not if you've got your little bubble, why not just take them a dinner round? Why not pop them a card, so that on Christmas they know that there's somebody there, helping and thinking about them at Christmas, especially in today's pandemic. It's just making sure that everybody, and thinking about people that normally probably wouldn't even have been on your radar, but because we are more aware, we are more sensitive as a community, let's get out there and support everybody so that we can all feel a little bit less isolated. And I'm hoping that this is going now to bring us back to Helen, who has had chance to go to the oven, and it's all going to be beautifully cooked. So let's return to the kitchen and see the finished product. Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Hi. How's it going? Are we almost baked?
Oh well, I think the puff pastry one that's the mincemeat ones that I just brushed and put in not long ago. So they look exactly the same. So they're cooking at the moment. The puff pastry ones are very close to being finished. That's the puff pastry one. So they're almost done, but they just might need a little bit longer. But that's how they look at the moment. Bit messy, but when they're dusted with ice and sugar, then they'll look great.
Yeah, as you say.
I'll just pop them back in just for a little bit longer. They do. Just probably want another couple of minutes, but yes, I usually dust them all with the ice and sugar once they're cooled. You can, I think, with the puff pastry ones, you can when they're cooled, brush them with a little melted butter, and have read somewhere I think it was the Christmas tree one, they had brushed with melted butter and then sprinkled cinnamon or sugar. I tend to use ice sugar, but again, with any of the Christmas spices, you could just sprinkle some of the Christmas spices across the top, or mix some of the Christmas spices with ice and sugar and then shake across the top. So whatever flavors and tastes you like, really. But we did say, you did ask me at one point, Wendy, about freezing these.
Oh yes. Are they? How long would you freeze them for? Would you rebake them when you get them out, or are they just ready to use once defrosted? Would be my question.
Well, I presume if you bought the pastry fresh, like I had, and it hadn't already been in the freezer, you could quite easily make those, and most probably freeze them before you baked them. Have the strips in a Tupperware dish maybe, or in between greaseproof paper sheets, and freeze them, and then get them out and cook however many you wanted for whatever occasion. But I must admit, I think I said to you, usually once I've made them and had them at home or taken them to work, having to worry about freezing them wasn't really a problem because they usually all went. But I think having been cooked, I think the mincemeat ones, like a mince pie, would most probably be fine frozen. Not quite so sure about the chocolate. The chocolate may tend to separate or break up once it was frozen. So I most probably wouldn't try freezing the chocolate ones. Although until you have a go, you wouldn't know. But as I said, never been a problem because they've always been eaten. So we've never had to worry about freezing. But
and I do love the idea of actually doing all of the prep. As you say, what you could do then is freeze them in batches, smaller batches. So then when we're back into times of visitors and things, once I know the grandchildren are coming round, I can literally pop the oven on, pop them in the oven. And of course, when all your visitors come, it's smelling lovely in the house, a bit like the baking bread syndrome, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. As I said, if it's fresh pastry that's not been pre-frozen, and you're freezing it for the first time, then yes, you could quite easily at that raw stage lay them out and roll it back up again, or make them twisted and place them in a Tupperware dish with some baking sheets between them. And yes, just get them out and pop them in the oven as and when you want them, if you want to pre-make them. That does make what we just used there actually does make quite a lot. So, I mean, that would be a good idea. If you're going to bother to make them, then make what we've done today. We've made, quite a number. I could quite easily just cook half of that now and freeze the other half.
Freeze the other half. Yes. That makes perfect sense.
Now, you did mention about they may be a bit hot at the moment, but I did have some tissue paper and ribbon ready to wrap a few up, because you did say about wrapping them in a little parcel, but they might be a little bit warm.
Yeah, no. We'll leave that rather. Do you want to try and do it, or do you want to just?
Well, I'll get the puff ones back out, because I think they might be more or less done. It's a shame you can't smell the kitchen at the moment.
It really is.
It does smell lovely. No, they may possibly be a little bit too warm, but no, I just.
Well, what I'm going to do, because I know it's live TV, live broadcast. I couldn't find the information I wanted. It wasn't popping up, the info that I wanted on Reach, but I've now found that. So to give you a few seconds, I'm actually going to go back and do the more formal bit for Reach, as I can now find my notes and all my bits on it. Okay, so I shall be back to you in a second. Okay, we'll say goodbye to Helen now. And what I couldn't read earlier, I've now found, proves it's live. The Christmas hamper donations. Reach Alternative Education this December is creating Christmas hampers supporting families in need. These hampers are to be donated to families within the local communities within Somerset under the Reach umbrella to ensure that they have a wonderful Christmas just like you and I. Reach is asking for donations of foodstuffs, toiletries, and any type of festive treat. Our goal is to ensure each of the families have a Christmas dinner and a few treats where otherwise they may not have had such. Every donation could just add to make Christmas that little bit special to families who are very much deserving of a little Christmas cheer. That is how professional I wanted to come across to you all when I first spoke about it. But as you say, proving it's live, it wasn't sort of coming to I couldn't find the larger print to read it. Helen is still busying herself. So now I've actually got the whole point over about Reach and Dan. We're going to go back to Helen and we're going to see the finished product of her making them look really nice and pretty. I'm going to see if we can, there we go. We're much closer now to the lovely twists.
Right, there. So just a little bit of icing sugar sprinkled over. As I said, obviously, ideally when they're more cooled, but then we can quite easily just wrap. You might be good to put them in maybe a little bit of cling film first, if you wish, but just a simple little bit of tissue paper and festive ribbon, or I mean, you don't have to make these at Christmas. Obviously, you can make these at any time. So just a handmade gift.
There's a little thank you, a little birthday treat.
Yeah. So
just a nice treat for no reason at all, just to say, hi, I'm thinking of you to a neighbour. That would be really nice gesture, wouldn't it?
Yes, and I think if it's something homemade, I think, and you've put the effort in, it always has a little bit more of a significance. So yeah, just a simple little bit of tissue paper and a ribbon, and that would be a lovely little Christmas gift.
And if you would like to tilt your screen up now so we can see you to thank you properly. There we go, that's lovely. Now we get to see Helen. Thank you very, very much for helping me out at short notice. And how's it go? I know where you live. I'm looking forward to...
I'll hide next time.
So thank you very, very much. It really is appreciated. Time to say goodbye, and who knows, keep your baking flair going, and they may all meet you again.
Might see me again. Yes, no, you're very welcome, Wendy.
That is lovely. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And on that note, it remains for myself and on behalf of CCS and Dave, our wingman, to thank Helen and say goodbye to you all. Have a lovely weekend and enjoy the first Advent. Not long now till Christmas. Bye-bye.